just a quick review. Whenever we're doing any of these, my first job is to find the vertex. Now, unfortunately, on this sheet today, I didn't give you a chart in advance, so you're actually going to have to work at this a little bit. So, this little guy right here is going to be key, because this is how I find the x value of my vertex every time. It doesn't change. Now, to know that, I have to know what A and B are going to be. C is not as big of a deal to me on these. So, for instance, here, my A value is always the number that's in front of x squared, and my B number is always the number that's in front of x. Once I have those, I can find my vertex, okay, the x value at least. So, to find that x value, it's negative, or the opposite of b, so it's the opposite of negative 8, which is positive 8, over 2 times my a, which is negative 1. So let's see here. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And when I divide that out, I get the x value of my vertex. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of the longer way on this first one, and I'll show you how to shorten it up again when we get to number 2. So that's my x value. To find y, I'm going to take the equation that they've given me, and every time I see an x, I'm going to plug the negative 4 in. So here's how this works. So I've got negative, but there's an x, so I plug in negative 4. But everything else, including exponents and everything like that, remains the same. So I basically copied the equation, except whenever there was an x, I put in a negative 4. Now what I'm going to do here, you could do on any calculator. So this is why I'm going to kind of jump back to the calculator for a minute here. If I type this in, so negative 4 squared minus 8 times negative 4 minus 15. Okay, so my y value is 1. And I have my vertex now with that. Yeah, 2.
Thank you.
All right. So, when we're doing these, when we're working on these, this tells me that my vertex is negative 4, 1. Sorry about the delay there. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the graph. I'm going to go to negative 4, 1. I'll put a dot. That's the center point of my graph. So now for the rest of it, I'm going to make myself a chart. I'm going to get those in here. My vertex always is going to go in the middle. So negative 4, 1 goes in the middle. To get my other x's, I add 1 as I go to the right. And to get my other 2 numbers here, I subtract 1 as I go to the left. But they'll always be right in order. It's not like you're going to be skipping numbers. So, once I get here, to finish it off, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like what I did for y here. But there's one cool thing about this. These 2 values and these 2 values will always be the same. So I don't have to do it for all 4 of those. So what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the work here for negative 3. So just like I did here, I'm going to type this in to my calculator, because again, any calculator will work with doing this step. And I'm going to let this kind of be my guide. So basically, I'm trying to copy what I see just above it, except I'm using negative 3's instead. And like I said, I'm going to show you another method you can use with the graphing calculators that might make things a little bit easier too. Man, all that work for 0? So once I get that typed in, here's the cool thing again about this. You're like, dang, I don't want to do this 4 times. You don't have to. Because now that I know what this -3 value has for its y, it's 0, that's also what the -5 is going to be. And I don't even have to do the work. The same thing occurs with -2 and -6. I can use either one. So let's say I decide I'm going to do my -6 here, and then I'll know what this answer is going to be. Again, I'm just going to copy the equation down, but I'm going to change the number in the parentheses to -6. And you're like, dang, this number might get kind of big. You're going to be surprised at how small it actually is. So one more time, I'm just taking this, oops, turn this back on. And I'm just typing that equation, replacing the -3 in parentheses with -6. And I get -3, which again is cool because that takes care of the other one for me. The ones that are equal distance apart always end up doing this, getting the same thing for me. And now, once I've done that, now all I've got to do is plot these points, and I'm going to be done. So -6, -3 means I go left 6 and down 3, put a dot. -5, 0, I go left 5, put a dot. I already have my vertex. -3, 0, put a dot. And -2, -3. And it should look symmetrical. Okay, it should almost look sort of like a V shape. I want it to look more like a U though, so I'm going to put some curve in here. And I'm ready to go. You're like, dang, that gets to be a lot of stuff. It can be while you're getting used to it, but here's the advantage you have, especially if you're working in class today. Your advantage comes in that with the calculator, we can make a lot of this work go away. So here's how we're going to do it when we've got the graphing calculator at our ability to use here. The only work I'm going to have to do is finding x. I'm going to let the calculator do everything after this, so watch this. Get my a and my b values from the equation, the number in front of x squared, the number in front of x. And once you've done that, I'm going to have to do my one bit of work here. I got to find x. And I do that with this -b over 2a formula. Because once I have that, I get my x. But now, instead of doing all this other work, this is going to be nice. I'm still going to make a chart, but the chart's going to get done for me here. So I know my x value of my vertex is going to be 1. What are the two numbers to the right of that going to be? If I'm adding 1 each time as I go to the right? 2 and 3. And then what about as I go to the left? 0 and -1. So here's where we let the calculator do our work. All right, I'm going to swing this over. Here's how this works again. We've talked about it before. I'm going to hit y equals, because I'm going to type in the equation. I'm going to type in exactly what I see right here. So -2x squared plus 4x plus 1. Once I get here, I'm going to hit second and graph. So second and graph, when I get to this point, I'll even put that in here. Second graph to get the table. And all I have to do at this point is make sure my vertex value, my x, is in the middle. And I'm just going to copy all the answers. So I've got 1, 3. I've got 0, 1. I've got -1, -5. I've got 2, 1. And I've got 3, -5. And it's symmetrical, just like the other one has been. So now that I got that, I'm just going to plot my points and connect them. I'm done. -1, -5, 0, 1, 1, 3. So there's my vertex. 2, 1, and right 3, and down 5. Get my big old U in here, and I'm done. So I personally would be using the graphing calculator while I was in here. Shoot, if I don't have to do the table, if it'll do it for me, that's awesome. But otherwise, you can do it like we did the first one, where you just do a couple of the equations, plug those values in, and get that. What's that? No? Okay. So that's kind of our task today. And then if you need to play around with some of the ones we've been working on yesterday and Tuesday, that's okay too. And then tomorrow we'll be adding one step in, okay? We're going to give it to you in vertex form, so you're not even going to have to do the equation to find the vertex anymore. It's going to be kind of cool. So it's actually going to get faster. And that's about